Hello, Tzeli. Thank you so much for your time. I want to start by just complimenting you a bunch because I have been recommending Lesvia as a film, as a documentary since 2024. I have been, because I saw it at BFI Flair in 2024. And it was the most stunning documentary I have seen, and nothing has come close to it to me since, until now. It is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful documentary, and it has been really heartbreaking every time someone goes, this sounds amazing, where can I see it, where can I see it? I feel really happy now it's going to be available for everybody to watch on streaming. So I want to start with a question that is more to do with the process of the documentary. I think I remember you saying at the Q&A at BFI Flair that you'd been working on it for 10 years at the time. How was that process? When did you know that the story, you'd found the story and that it was ready to share with audiences?
Okay, first of all, hello, and thank you very much for this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to share my my experience with Lesvia, with my film, especially with a younger audience, the younger queers, if it's possible. Yeah. So it's true. I was working for 13 years, actually. Wow. I started in 2011, and the last shot, it was July 2013.
Wow.
I mean, I was editing and still getting more material and trying to catch the way that Eressos was changing, because Eressos has changed dramatically the last years. I mean, really very much. And I wanted to include the coming of the younger generation, of the young queers, that we are so happy for that. And I need to say that I didn't start it as a film. Thank you very much for your beautiful words about my work, but I must say that I didn't know that I was making a film when I started. The need was to keep our story alive, because as you know, lesbians and queers were not very good in sharing our stories, or at least in my generation, you know, whatever was happening, we didn't consider it important enough to share it. And so there were no role models for the younger generations. You couldn't identify with anyone. Yeah. And our generation was the one that really managed to, at least in Eressos and in many other places, of course, but to feel the freedom and the joy of being together and being lesbians. So this is what I wanted to catch. And this is how the film started. Because the people that they were coming, the lesbians that they were coming, they were more with a touristic feeling. They didn't understand what it had happened before their arrival. They thought that they were just in a beautiful Greek village. Okay, it's so nice, sunny, the sea is here, the food is great, so let's have fun. And plus, there are plenty of lesbians. But in order for all these people to be able to come and enjoy Eressos, we had to fight before. And so this is how I started narrating our story. That's the beginning, and it started in 2011, and as I said, it ended in 2013 with the first screening in 2024.
Yeah. I will start the podcast with a little bit of an introduction to the film and how the unique angle that it takes, because you are both lesbian and lesbian. You are from the area and also a lesbian, so you're of both communities, watching the kind of the conflict that had happened from the founding of this kind of collective of lesbians and creating of that community, all the way through the conflicts between the locals and those who came. And so I wanted to also ask, were there any tough interviews? Were there any contentious interviews? I mean, I can imagine as a local, they were more, local community were more open to chatting with you, more open to discussing with you. Were there any maybe contentious interviews or discussions that you had to conduct in dealing with discussing those conflicts that had happened before the modern era of acceptance and community?
And let's say tolerance, acceptance. From some, we are accepted. If we believe that we are accepted, I think it's wrong, because we're not accepted by everyone. And even in Eressos, where there are so many lesbians and queers, and all the restaurants are welcoming us now, we don't talk about acceptance from everyone. We are talking about tolerance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2023, not 2013 that I was said. Anyway.
Yes. Somehow I also heard you say 2023, even though you said 2013.
Yeah. Okay. So it was the hardest kind of psychotherapy that I went through.
Yeah, I can imagine.
This film was so tough for me, for my heart, that I stopped working on it for 2 years.
Wow.
I mean, I was starting to listen to the interviews, and then I was stopping because, sometimes it's not that they will be aggressive with you, but because I am a double lesbian, as I say, I'm born on the island of Lesvos, and I understand I understand the very small differences in the words that they use or in their face. So they didn't need to attack me to hurt me.
Yes.
They could hurt me with very, with velvet.
It's like family. Like family, when know they have not hurt, they're not saying something, but you know what they are trying to say or how they are trying to, and even just they're not even thinking, and they'll say something that others you or makes you. Yes, I know what you mean.
Exactly. So it was painful. And, I didn't want them to feel bad. I wanted them to be free, as I was free, as we were free. I mean, I wanted to give them the chance to speak about themselves, to say how they were feeling. And for this reason, I had to be ready that I would listen some things that they would be very hurtful and not nice. Because, of course, they had their families, they had a different way of thinking, and they were older than us. When we arrived, we were all 18, 20, 25, and I was talking to the older generation, the one that they had the restaurants and they had the shops. So we were like a bomb for them. It was like a bomb that fell on the village. And although I knew that I had to be ready for that, I wasn't really ready. But it freed me completely. It liberated me. After the film and after having heard again and again and again the interviews, I was free. I was also free from myself because, I managed to understand them. And this is the magic that is happening in Eressos now and for the last years, is that a big part of the lesbian community is really willing to understand the locals.
Yeah.
And the locals are willing to understand us.
I was going to mention this is very much something I wanted to cover in my next question, which is the film ends with this real sense of, like you said, you've made this film to explain how we got to a point where people can come to this island and there is no Cold War happening as much. Like you said, it's not so much acceptance as it is tolerance, and a lot of that also has to do with the commercial value of the tourism and kind of almost buying the tolerance of some locals. I was going to ask you whether, even though it was a very contentious kind of civil or Cold War that was happening in those years, if there's maybe anything about those golden years, as you say them in the documentary, that you miss, and maybe, of course, aspects of it that you don't miss, that you don't want back.
Well, what I miss is being there with my friends on the beach, naked. Something that now, I mean, the thing is that a lot of women, they're coming back every year. So I meet my friends here. But we are older. And the times are different now, A lot of younger queers, they don't like being naked on the beach. They are scared of that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, why they make it sad. Of course, the moment that they first take off their clothes, then it's like, oh my God, I'm in paradise. So it was a different way of being, except of being very young. That was great. We were living on the beach. We were cooking there. It was this enthusiasm of that we are doing something great. We were having something that we couldn't have anywhere else. We were free and naked on the beach, surrounded by a lot of lesbians. And having fun, and no one could stop us. Even if they tried, even if we had fights, we were all together. And there was a kind of community that I miss, because we were in a physical way there. It was not that we were behind the screen or on Instagram, on TikTok, or whatever, and showing the pictures and saying, we were feeling it. It was true. It was not in our imagination. And it was the first time that we managed to have it on a beach, not in a city, together and free.
Yeah.
So this, I miss it. I miss it a lot. But thanks God there are other communities that they are creating now. And even if the situation is not exactly the same, very often I have the same feeling. And also you cannot expect to have the same situation. I mean, we could stay under the sun. Now, with the climate change, you can't suffer the sun in Greece. I mean, even if we had all the beach, I doubt that we would have been able to be there. So, yeah, I miss these years, but I'm trying to find the new groups. Actually, I am finding the new groups. I am part of the new groups, and I feel the community, the different community that we are creating now, that we have different needs.
Yes. And like you said, it's a very different world. I mean, part of the appeal of the documentary to me, big appeal. Every time I think of Lesvia as a documentary, I think of those gorgeous photos that you took. I believe they're your photos from the 80s and the 70s of these women on the beach, naked. There's these videos of people in these tents. And like you said, very present, very physical. There was no phones. And I think my generation especially, we talk a lot about wanting to be more present and wanting to be kind of more in community with one another, and we just have lost maybe that skill. But in the same way, like you said, things have changed, technology has advanced, the climate has changed, and finding a new way of finding that same magic and presentness with one another now is going to look different. I think also it is important to have these documentaries to remind us of the things maybe that we either do not currently have and could potentially have in the future, and allow us to dream of these beautiful times and again perhaps, but also to have a blueprint of things that have been done before. Because like you said, the other thing my generation have a real difficulty with is, and with generations previous of queer elders, is this thing of being able to pass down the ways we have structured communities. It's not just who we fought, but how we positively built, not just what we negatively had to fight, but how we positively built. And that again, the Sappho's Hotel and Mariana's and all of these stories of these businesses where integration happened, where people could understand one another. And again, tolerance, this place of where lesbian was the norm, to me is something do you know what I mean? It's something I don't think my generation have even thought to dream about. You know, we are so, especially those of us who did not have Eressos to go to, are thinking only in terms of being tolerated, you know, being at a pride parade. We're not even thinking about whole spaces where it is normal to be a lesbian. It's just given that any woman you're looking at is a lesbian. Anyway, I will move on. Sorry, but it's just, I have so many thoughts.
You know, when even me now, in our days, when I go away from Eressos, I mean, I don't know how to behave. I forget how to be in a straight world. Yeah. Because in Eressos, I'm lesbian. That's it. I am who I am, and I am lesbian, and I don't care how I am dressed, or you know, or I don't have to hide anything, or I can kiss in the middle of the street, my friend. And when you come here, they don't ask you. If you come with your friend, they give you immediately the double bed. Yes. They don't ask. You have a queen size bed. That's amazing. Immediately. Yeah. Because, and actually you have to tell them that we are not a couple, so we need to separate. It's another world. Yeah. I mean, I go to Mytilene and to the capital, that it's where I grew up, but I think that people, they look at me differently. Here, I'm normal. You know, I don't know, with normal through,
Yes.
it's not
Default. Yeah.
Yeah, I am who I am, and that's it.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about the situation now in Eressos, and specifically where the kind of lesbian enclave now exists in Lesbos. What is, as you said, there are situations in the documentary, it's touched upon. The beach is not really necessarily a place the way it used to be, and there are more seasonal guests than there are, and then there's like the core group that stays throughout the year and people who've invested in the in the area. What is the current vibe? What's the current community? I'm like you said, there's a renaissance happening. What has happened now in Lesbos that has changed since the end of the documentary?
Okay, it's Eressos, not Lesvos, because if we speak
Eressos.
about Lesvos and you go to the next village that it's 12 kilometers from Eressos, nothing is like in Eressos. I mean, what is happening only in Eressos, not in the rest of the island of Lesbos.
Wow.
Now it's quite strange since the Queer Ranch Festival started and Lesvia came out. We have a lot of younger queers.
I can imagine.
We have them. Yeah, it's amazing. Sometimes they come and they stop me in the street and they say, "We came because we watched your documentary," or they're sending me email. "We watched the documentary and we came in Eressos." There is a lot, but there is also the Queer Ranch Festival that it's organized in the middle end of May. And after that, there is a queer film festival. We have a lot. This year, we had 700 queers. And it wasn't enough space for all of them. So it was packed. And Eressos is a very small village with small bars. It's not that it has a big bar. They can stay, 50 persons in every. So, and we had 700 queers that they were everywhere, enjoying the bars. The Queer Ranch Festival has also a ranch that it's in the valley under the volcanic rocks, a beautiful space where they had a lot of parties and workshops. And then we had, so that's in May. So they start coming from May.
Wow.
And then in June, we are also almost back.
Wow.
And in July, we have less lesbians. In August, a little more. And in September, for the Women's Festival, we are packed again.
Wow.
And now, as if it's not enough, we are organizing more things. There is a trans feminist academy that is taking place in June, in middle of June. And next year, from the 7th to 17th of October, when everybody else will be gone, there will be the big conference of the Eurocentral lesbian community with over 1,000 lesbians.
Fitting in Eressos. That's crazy.
Yes.
Wow. That is, that's a renaissance. That is the reconvening of the international lesbian community again in the
Exactly. And as I'm also part of the ELC community, and we already have bought a house here in the center of the village, that it will be the headquarters and the place for archives.
Wow.
So, more activists, more politically aware women and queers are arriving practically from Asia. We had our summit in the lesbian summit in June, and there were women from Kurdistan, from Armenia, from places where they cannot exist as lesbians, and they come in Eressos and they dance and they kiss and they are free, so we are creating a space where even the people that they don't feel okay in their places, they can come and join us. Yeah. And be safe, and be joyful. Woman, an activist from Iraq.
Wow.
People.
This is what
from
I love.
Palestine. I mean, really, it's happening. It's a big thing what is happening in Eressos, and I'm very glad if I managed to help a little with my film.
It fills me with a lot of joy that there is this space, because I mean, I'm relatively privileged. I live in London. We have our own issues happening here, a lot of them for the queer community currently. And even though, you know, I mean, in recent years it's gotten a bit more difficult, I'm not going to lie, but like, you are mostly allowed to exist as a lesbian in public space.
Yes.
Mostly. Again, tolerance, not acceptance. And
Yes.
but we are dealing with deterioration here, and I know a lot of queer people in the city will say the same, where our institutions are being priced out, our communities are being fractured, because everything is under attack, culturally under attack all the time. Our arts are under attack, our bars are under attack, so much is under attack. To know that there is still a place, one place on earth, that is hosting and fostering that community amongst lesbian women, amongst queer sapphic women in the world, at a time where it feels like wherever I go, all we are doing is we are very scared for the coming years and of the community. It brings a lot of hope to me, especially I think also for those of us who are from communities. Myself, I'm of Sudanese origin, and of those of us for whom our cultures are starting very gently, very gently to adapt, to again tolerate, it's amazing. I myself, the moment I watched the documentary, I've been saving up for my trip. I cannot lie, I'm planning my trip to Eressos. But I wanted to quickly, finally, forgive me if this becomes a bit too political, but I mean, we're queer people, everything becomes quite political. I remember also at the Q&A all the way back in Flair, you can imagine this was a very formative day for me, you mentioning the parallel between the tensions of the lesbians and the locals in the story, in the documentary, and the current general European sentiment towards immigration and towards those who are in need coming to Europe to seek refuge. And it occurred to me, again, watching the film more recently, the parallel of there being this sanctuary, a place where people are safe, finally, who are able to give back again to community and to integrate with community, but not without first attention, without a worry of the locals feeling that they are being threatened or their way of life is being threatened. What do you feel you as a community in Eressos learned about how to overcome those tensions? And how is the situation now, especially because there is still a lot of kind of huge groups of people coming into the space, maybe not all of them understanding how to respect the space, you know, large groups of people, there's always going to be some. What do you feel the lessons were that you learned as a community on how to put people's minds at ease, maybe, I think is maybe the question I'm asking.
You know, I think that it's fear that makes us angry. So, and also the fact that we are not okay with ourselves. I can speak only about the lesbian community, not the locals. I can speak only from this part because, yes, I am local, but not, I don't know what they have to go through. They have to go through their fears too. They have to keep an open mind and see that life can exist in a different way than the one that they have in their mind. It's very important. But if it's important for the locals, it's also for us. We wanted to be accepted and to be free in Eressos, but we really didn't look at the locals at all. I mean, we didn't respect them in the first years. And now that I am 64, I can understand why I was behaving like that when I was 20.
Yeah.
It was the desire to be in a place and not to have anyone to break your nerves.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, this other person, they had their own fears, they had their own morality, they had their own problems. And also imagine, I mean, the women that they were married in marriages that they were not so happy, that they had problems, and then they were seeing us and we were doing whatever we wanted, and it was obvious that we had a lot of orgasm because you could hear it everywhere. So imagine them, how they were feeling. In the beginning, they hated us. It took them some time. And the men that we were beautiful and they couldn't have sex with us.
Yeah.
So, of course, there was going to be a war between us. We were completely different.
Yeah.
And our needs the basic need was about acceptance and love, but in very, very different ways.
Yeah.
They meant it differently than how we meant it. And what I try to do in the documentary, and what I'm trying in my life now that I went through all these hard years on preparing the documentary and dealing with the interviews with the locals and with all my memories and all this, is that we need to give some space to understand each other. And it's something that we don't do. We don't listen to each other. And we don't take in consideration the needs of the other person. So, yes, we want to have the life as we want, but they want exactly the same. And so there we need to talk.
Yeah.
Because by talking, by knowing each other, by not putting labels, by not saying, oh, I'm queer, I am trans, I'm non-binary, I'm a lesbian, and you are a male local.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to know you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the locals, exactly the same for us.
Yeah.
Then if we manage, and this is what happened in Eressos, because a lot of women came to stay. And by staying here, by going to their shops, by staying in winter time, by needing a worker to fix a plumber, an electrician, someone to do the house, relationships were created. And the relationships that they were created, they were not based on a label.
Yeah.
We were not the lesbians. We had a name. So we started with some of them becoming friends.
Yeah.
It's not, I repeat that it's not an easy situation, and the younger generations now in Eressos, they are more aggressive with the queers and the lesbians because they didn't went through all this that we went through with their parents, and so they are more aggressive, and also because they don't know what to do with their lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are desperate. They live in a world that doesn't give them any inspiration.
Yeah. 100%. And I mean, this is now, I would say, I can't speak beyond Europe, but I can say this is part of the issue politically in my generation across Europe, where we are, as a generation, unable to see a future. Straight, gay, anything. Economically, it is barren.
Yes.
And the only thing left for many communities then to cling to is these identity wars, these identity politics. Everybody has a label, everyone's fighting.
Exactly.
And once, this is the beauty of the documentary, and it is also an experience I've had in my life. Once I am no longer, the black woman or the queer woman, and I'm just Umnia, I can have a conversation with, George, with whoever. But if we are identities instead of people, there is no conversation. It's just war.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
That was the biggest lesson that I learned by doing Lesvia. And this is how I came in peace.
Yeah.
With myself and with both communities.
And it was found, the interviews, though I'm sure incredibly difficult to edit, very compassionate. You had a lot of compassion even for the opinions that were maybe hurtful or misunderstanding, or there was still a sense that there was space also to respect their feelings. And then also, as things moved on, as time changed, as the interviews were more in the modern day, you realized people kind of going, it's fine, they're living their lives, we're living our lives, as long as we're one community. And then it's like, it's not lesbian versus local, we're just locals, and we care for the animals. Yes. And we look after one another. I cannot say enough good things about the documentary.
Actually, we are also fighting for the environment all together now, so we are doing things together. Yeah. With the locals.
Yeah.
Without saying that I am a lesbian. Oh, and okay, yes, I'm a lesbian, so what?
Yeah.
And from the moment they don't see it like that, and from the moment that I am not, I don't have prejudice against the farmer, the shepherd, and I go and I talk to them, and I'm just myself. So they become themselves, and that was the most important, one of the most difficult things to do, it was just to be behind the camera and let them talk. But it's the same in all of my films. Whenever I interview people, and I mean the locals in Lesvos or in other places, I have made other documentaries too, I just leave the camera and I talk with them. And so they don't feel threatened. They don't feel that they have to say something that I want to listen to. They can be themselves, because what am I asking? I'm asking to be myself. How can I tell them, no, you have to be in a certain way in order to interview you or in order to talk with you? They have exactly the same right, as far as there is respect.
Yes, and it's not from a naive place that we kind of let people maybe be bigoted or anything. It is simply, if it's in good faith, if someone is coming in good faith with these things. I do want to get to kind of your amazing cinematographic eye and your love.
Thank you.
The love you have for the landscape of Eressos, the beauty of Eressos, I mean, if you just switch the sound of the documentary off, it is itself a movie. It is stunning, 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 stunning. The likes of which I have not seen in a documentary since, and I dream about every night. I wanted to ask you how.
Thank you so much.
Truly, truly, the most beautiful documentary I have seen in the last couple of years. I want.